Welcome to Proven and Probable. I'm your host, Maurice Jackson, and joining me today is UEC's Scott Melbye, who is the Executive Vice President. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Hi, Maurice. It's great to be here.
You know, for someone who wants to get a deeper perspective into uranium, I'd like for you to share with us, first and foremost, your background.
Sure.
And then let's transition that into discussing what is the catalyst in uranium from your perspective.
Sure. Well, Maurice, I've been very fortunate to spend 33 years in the uranium industry and the nuclear energy industry, really starting with the industry back in the mid-1980s. And through that time, I've been on both the brokerage trading side. I've bought nuclear fuel for a nuclear power station in Arizona, 22 years with Cameco, including head of their global marketing subsidiary, and also working with the Russians at Uranium One in bringing uranium out of Kazakhstan and into global markets. So, bringing all that experience now to UEC at a time like this in the market is very exciting. And I think the point that we're at in the commodity cycle here is quite exciting, not for us, not just us in the industry, but also for investors. In that, what we have with uranium is a commodity which has been extremely under pressure and undervalued over the years following the Fukushima incident in Japan. But running in the background, we have a very vibrant growth industry, which is nuclear energy. And for a number of reasons, the large, low-cost, emission-free electricity source, it's nuclear energy, is being deployed around the world. 65 reactors are under construction. Those are in addition to the 440 reactors that are operating around the world. These are baseload plants. They're the 24/7 units that are the first to come on the grid and the last to go off. So we have this situation where demand is increasing at 2-3% per year. 2015 was a record year for new installed capacity added to the global electricity grids, yet the commodity is still at a very low point, and that's what is an opportunity for not only our company but our investors as well.
Now, speaking of that, it seems as if, from a fundamental standpoint, that the stars are aligned for an upswing, yet the price, in our opinion, is depressed.
Sure.
Talk to us on what might be the catalyst for this breakout that we're all anticipating.
Sure. Well, there's a number of factors that are going to drive things, but let's just focus on one is China, because it's very much in the news. In March of this year, the Chinese government produced their 13th five-year plan, which lays out the economic plan for the country in the coming 5 years. Given the air quality pollution issues they're having in major Chinese cities, a heavy theme throughout that document was efforts that can be employed by the government to clean the air and reduce air pollution. Integral to that was the nuclear energy plan, and China was already on a growth plan of exceeding the installed U.S. nuclear capacity within the next 10 years. But in that plan, partly as a result of a moratorium on new coal-fired plants, but also as a bit of a stimulus in terms of building nuclear plants, not only on coastal sites, but in inland provinces of China, a huge build-out of, I would say it's an acceleration of the nuclear energy program in China. I think they're targeting 160 gigawatts of installed capacity by 2030. So this is an incredible nuclear power program, and these 13th five-year plans, these are blueprints, marching orders for the state-owned companies to go out and buy the uranium, hire and train nuclear physicist technicians, acquire the sites, and so the wheels are in motion. This isn't a forward-looking story. It's happening right now. The Chinese are importing over 50 million pounds a year from global uranium sources into China, which is more than the United States nuclear energy industry consumes in a year. So it's a very exciting story, and it's happening now.
I'm glad you touched on it, because there is a lot of ambiguity as far as the commitment. China, as you just mentioned, you have an extensive experience with them. They're committed, whereas some of the more Western countries, they may not be as committed where it is on the drawing board per se. So someone who's new to the story of uranium, please reemphasize that China is committed.
Absolutely, and the Chinese are very strategic and very opportunistic. Take, for example, the years following Fukushima. While that might have been a struggle for the industry during this period, the Chinese took advantage of it and have gone out and invested in uranium assets in the United States, like in our UEC. We have Li Ka-shing as a major investor. We have CGN, big utility nuclear power company in China. investing in NextGen in Canada, and investments being made all over the world in assets with uranium in the ground, but also these above ground inventories. They're not waiting to buy that uranium. They're taking advantage of the low prices now to build up some stockpiles, and we expect that to continue going forward.
Sticking with that theme with China, so where do you anticipate some of that uranium is going to come from? Could it be UEC?
It absolutely could. The biggest suppliers of uranium to China presently are Kazakhstan, being a border. They have a rail crossing where the majority of the imports are coming from Kazakhstan, but also certainly Australia, African countries looking to and are exporting. Canada has made their first imports into China, but the U.S. industry has been a bit absent. Now we have the necessary bilateral diplomatic agreements in place for the United States to supply China, and there is a real interest on their part to have that happen. So I think one of the first things we'll do in South Texas when we get into production, we already have the commitments from the Chinese that they would love to have that supply route opened up and developed in the coming years.
Speaking of production and switching gears here, let's go down to the Western Hemisphere, and specifically, let's talk about UEC. So from a production standpoint, your cost to produce uranium is in essence, what, $27?
Yes.
And we look at what does it cost right now for the industry to produce uranium is what?
Right. I think the cost curve as it stands today, I think you would have half of global production underwater, if you will, in a $25, $26 market. And if we look at not only just the existing mines, but what it would take to expand an existing mine or make major capital investment to build a new mine, and we're talking about conventional open pit operations, we're talking $70, $80 a pound. So it's quite a gap between where we're at 25 and $70, $80 a pound. So lower cost producers like ISR producers like ourselves in Texas with scalable low cost operations that can ramp up quite quickly, will fit a very nice niche as the market recovers.
And speaking of your low cost, it looks like there might be an opportunity for you to expand according to the USGS. Could you share that with the audience?
Yeah, it was very interesting. The USGS just completed a report, and they work in conjunction with the IAEA out of Vienna, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency. And they very regularly do surveys of uranium resources and adequacy globally, and as a way to assess how the industry will support the growth of nuclear power going forward. And the USGS concluded in a report late last year, came out early this year, that the South Texas region is one of the most prospective regions and has the biggest potential for exploration, discovery, and success of all the uranium producing regions in the world, and we believe that. That's why we're in South Texas. The Goliad formation of the South Texas coastal plains have produced many millions of pounds through the years, and we think through additional development and a very receptive state. The regulatory climate in Texas, they're just as welcoming of us as they are oil and gas. The potential for growth in Texas and for the United States is enormous.
Well, it's quite enticing to hear. For investors and prospective investors, that is, that want to know more about UEC, can you share a website and phone number, please?
Sure, uraniumenergy.com, and I would be happy to share any insights on the uranium market or our company as we're taking advantage of the uranium market that's emerging.
Well, Mr. Melbye, thank you for joining us today.
Great, thanks.
Proven and Probable.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on Proven and Probable. Remember to like and subscribe for more conversations with the most respected names in the natural resource space. Check out our website at www.provenandprobable.com. The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.